In order for us to know how many sales and revenue you want to grow into, we do need to calculate the number of leads that come through. What friction looks like is how it is disqualifying people as they're going through your funnel. The more questions that you ask people that are inquiring with you, the more friction that you're creating. If you want to create friction to disqualify people that can't afford your services, a strategy that's worth testing is actually having... Welcome to Websites That Convert, the podcast where your website stops being a liability and transforms into your greatest asset. I'm your host, Shannon, and I'm going to guide you through the strategies and insights you need to build a website that not only attracts, but converts. Let's dive in. Have you ever been in a situation where you're not generating any leads at all? It can be quite stressful, right? Well, there's a lot of people that are doing marketing and generating a lot of leads, but they aren't good quality leads. And if you compare the two situations of no leads versus hundreds of leads who aren't even qualified for your services, they can be as bad as each other. Not every lead is created equal. So if you're thinking about leads in terms of the amount of volume that's coming through and a number of leads that you want to have come in, it's not an accurate metric to target. Now, in order for us to know how many sales and revenue you want to grow into, we do need to calculate the number of leads that come through. But when we have that approach, it's more around assuming they're going to be quality leads, which they always are because of the strategy that we use. But in order to make sure that they are quality leads, there is one simple strategy that you can use to ensure that you're not spending tons of time on tire kickers or people that are simply not even in the market for what you offer. So a simple way to think about this is that less friction in your funnel is going to equal more leads, but it's going to equal a lower conversion rate. So what friction looks like is how it is disqualifying people as they're going through your funnel. So friction points in a funnel can be anything from the headlines on the ads and the creative that's used, the messaging on the landing pages, and the fields on the inquiry forms. So if you take all of the friction away in those steps and you target a super broad audience, you have generic messaging, your landing page doesn't disqualify people or speak to a specific target market and a problem that they have, and then the form on your website or landing page is only asking for name, email, and phone number, you're gonna get tons of leads. You will get a lot of leads, but those leads are not going to be high quality. We can also look at the advertising aspect of the platform that you're using. So when you're marketing on Google, you can be more targeted as to the keywords that you're going after. So if there's a certain type of customer that you want more of, you can target keywords that those customers are using. Compare that to platforms like Facebook and Instagram. If you're doing broad scale campaigns, you don't have much control over the type of prospect that is looking at your ads unless you use specific types of audiences which are harder to identify on these platforms. So generally the best thing is to create these broad campaigns that are going out to tons of people, and then the creative is what's disqualifying them. But if you don't have those friction points in the advertisements on those platforms, then again, it's going to be really, really easy to generate leads, but the quality of those leads is going to be lower. So the less friction in your funnel at each of those steps is going to result in more leads, but what really matters is what happens after those leads come through, which is how many people are converting into customers. And when you have no friction and high volume of leads, you're generally going to have a lower conversion rate. Now, on the other hand, more friction is going to equal less leads, but higher conversion rate. So we can go back to the platforms that you're using, the targeting that's being used in those advertisements, the headlines, the creative, what's on their landing page, how it's speaking to a specific type of customer, and then the fields that are on those inquiry forms. As a rule, you can expect the warmer the lead, the more willing they are to go through more steps. So you need to decide whether you want volume or you want quality. There is going to be still quality leads in the less friction approach, but it's going to be a matter of you wading through those leads to find the gold, basically. So it can sometimes be a needle in a haystack kind of situation, but some businesses are happy to go through that process. It's just more work after the lead comes through rather than creating a funnel that creates the specific amount of friction that you need to make sure that the leads that are coming through are high quality so that you can have more conversations with people who are pre-qualified. Now, I've already touched on how to add friction or the steps within the funnel that you have the opportunity to create friction with. But just to clarify, the first part of creating friction is in your targeting. So if we think about Google, targeting the right keywords from people who have a certain type of search intent, which means they're using keywords that tell us that they are in the market for what you offer. So they're looking for the services. They're using keywords that are maybe targeted in a geographical area, like if we say kitchen renovation company Brisbane or something like along those lines. It tells us that they're in the market for finding a kitchen renovation company. So we're better off targeting people who are in those kind of audiences, because they're more likely to be the type of people that a kitchen renovation business would want to work with, because they actually are in the mindset of making a decision as to who they're going to work with. On the other hand, there could be a keyword that's related or has kitchen renovation in it, like, for example, how to renovate my kitchen, or how long does a kitchen renovation take? These are different types of keywords. They're different types of audiences. The people in the second group are people that are just kind of researching about kitchen renovations, whereas the first example of kitchen renovation company Brisbane, they're actually looking for a business to inquire with. So if you want more friction in the keywords that you're targeting, you would target people that are further down their buying journey and actually looking to make a decision or inquiring with a company like yours. The second is in the ad copy. So if you want to create friction to disqualify people that can't afford your services, a strategy that's worth testing is actually having the from price in the ad copy. So if you have a service that starts at, say, $2,500 or something like that, and you don't even want to have conversations with people who can't afford that, and you don't want to pay for a click from someone who can't afford that, then you can test having that pricing saying from $2,500 actually in the ad copy, because it's going to deter people that can't afford that or are looking for a cheaper solution. So the first is in the targeting, the second is in the ad copy. But if you then get the click through to the landing page, then you can also add friction with the copy on your landing pages. So these can be call outs to people that you really want to work with. So it could pre-qualify people that reading the information on your landing page say that you only service a specific geographical area, for example. Maybe you have something that specifically says you only offer services in these areas. It could again be the pricing on the page, or the from pricing at least. It could be something else relevant to the services that you offer. But creating landing page copy that calls out your audience or your ideal client so that you're only getting those type of people that are submitting inquiry forms, then that's a way that you can create friction in your funnel in this case. The next way is in the form field. So the more questions that you ask people that are inquiring with you, the more friction that you're creating. So if you have a form that's just phone, email, name, you're going to get more leads than people who are adding more questions to their form, because it's adding more steps, more work for the prospect. But ultimately, like I mentioned before, the warmer prospects are going to go through more steps. So it means that while you'll get less leads, you're more likely to have serious people that are inquiring with you. But it depends on where in their buyer's journey this prospect is when they're finding you. So as a rule, we generally say no more than 5 questions on an inquiry form on a landing page that's coming from paid ads traffic, because it is generally a good balance of gathering the right amount of information so that you can also pre-qualify them as they're coming through and have an initial conversation with them and have some initial information to work with. But it's not too much information that's going to deter someone as they're inquiring, especially if they're inquiring with multiple companies, because if they see a long convoluted form on your website or your landing page and then your competitor is just asking for 5 questions, then they may not actually even bother going through and submitting all of those details. So it's just something to think about, but the form fields is definitely a way that you can create more friction in your funnel. Another way you can create friction in your funnel is to implement an AI SMS automation system. So this is very similar to what we do in our AI funnel system, but the purpose is for contact with that prospect to be made as soon as they come through as a lead, asking questions that are going to help pre-qualify them and get the initial information that you and or your sales team need in order to not only just qualify them, but be equipped for the next conversation that you're having with them as they're going through their buyer's journey. So if there is a certain question that's going to pre-qualify or disqualify a lead after they've even been generated, an AI sales agent can actually have that conversation, so you don't spend your time having a conversation with someone who isn't pre-qualified. Now, you need to take this with a grain of salt, because sometimes a conversation is all someone needs in order to get them across the line. So we don't look at AI and these automations as replacements of humans. We look at them to complement and help leverage more from the time that you have running your business by having the automations that are going to assist in that process. So generally, this is something like an AI sales agent can definitely help pre-qualify the lead for your sales team, but I always say it's still worth a conversation just in case. With that all said, I hope this episode has helped you understand different ways that you can add friction into your funnel. Like I said, it's not always about the amount of leads that are coming through. It is about the balance of volume and quality. We generally err on the side of quality because we work with business owners who are busy. They don't want to have those conversations with people who are complete Tyre-Kickers and not even in the market to buy from them. We want to make sure that their time is well spent, but there is a matter of testing and optimization to find that perfect friction point to make sure that quality leads are coming through without sacrificing on the volume of leads that you need in order to reach your sales and revenue goals. But that is all for this episode, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to Websites That Convert. If you found value in this episode, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on all social media. And if you're a service-based business owner that's looking to double their website conversions, book a call with my team using the link below. I'll see you in the next episode.